Hi friends, welcome back to my channel, and in today's vlog I will be reading the 5 lowest rated books on my TBR according to Goodreads. So first up, I will be reading Bulky by Jessica Cain. This has an average rating of 3.43. I will then be reading The Babysitter by Jack Harbin, which has a 3.34. Rule Number 1 by Nikki Shanks, which has a 3.49. And I will be reading The Taking of Jake Livingston, which has a 3.47. And then the last book that I will be reading is The Good Girl by Shiloh Clark, which has a 3.31. So I have actually completed 2 of the books for the video already, so let's get into those. So first up, I finished Bulky. This is a age gap romance. It's only about 70 pages. This is my first Jessica Cain, and I didn't quite know how I was going to feel about her writing and her writing style and all that kind of stuff. I'm finding I'm not a huge novella person because like intimacy just don't really do much for me outside of like the relationship, so I don't prefer reading them. And if that's all the story is, then I generally anticipate shorter books being lower rated because people go into novellas with this mindset of like, I would have enjoyed it more if it was longer, which is like not the mindset you have. Like, you should be rating your books based on the length that you're given. So if it's incomplete or it's unsatisfactory in some way, then your rating needs to be lower, which kind of gives you this feeling of like, I wish it was longer, but that's just kind of how it is. This is an age gap between a woman and her best friend's dad, who she's had a crush on since she was 12. She's 18 now, and they enter in like to a sugar baby situation because she needs funds for college. I did end up giving this 2 stars. Again, like I mentioned before, novellas just aren't super my thing, and I don't like the way that Jessica Cain writes. I don't like her steamy scenes. I don't like the language that she uses. So if that's all you're kind of there for, if that's all the story is, then, and you don't enjoy those aspects of it, then you can't really expect to enjoy the story. And then I also finished The Babysitter, which I gave 3 out of 5 stars. This is the romance between a dad and his kid's babysitter. The main hero is in school for to be a writer. He's the babysitter for this guy, and they have hookups. I thought it was mediocre. It was okay. It was only 43 pages, so it's literally just a short little story about people hooking up, and it was what it was. It wasn't anything too spectacular. It just very much was middle of the road. And so 3-star for that one. And then I'm also a little bit of the way into The Taking of Jake Livingston, which seems to be a like YA horror akin to Get Out and Holly Jackson. And it's about Jake who can see the dead. I'm not that far in. I'm actually waiting for the library to come, for my library hold to come through, and it has about 6 weeks. So we'll see how far it's gonna take me a while to get to that one. I love the cover, and that's what initially kind of drew me in, but I haven't heard the best things and or a lot of things about it. So once I have more thoughts about that, I will let you know. And then I am 5% of the way into Rule Number 1. This is a book that I got for free, I think, and I don't really have many expectations on it. It kind of opens in an annoying way that like the hero's a fuckboy and he's like messing with a woman and he can't even remember her name, and then he makes a comment about how his friend comes over after he's kicked this girl out, or this girl has left his apartment, and says, I need you to go on this vacation with me. I'm trying to you know, get with this girl, and she wants to go camping and she wants to bring her friends, so I gotta bring my friends too. And so he has the hero come along. The hero has to go pick up the heroine, and he makes a comment about how she's just gonna talk his ear off about Hollywood and hair and nails or something like that the entire ride, and don't love that. I don't know entirely how I'm going to feel about it. I don't know if I'm even going to finish it because the premise itself doesn't sound that interesting, and the fact that the hero is like that, it's going to result in one of 2 things. One is going to be that he comes around and views women as not fuck toys, or he's going to realize that the heroine is different than all the other girls, which we don't love either option. Just like respect women and like recognize that they're people like I'm gonna update you on that one whenever I'm further in. It's a decently large sized book. It's over 350 pages, so it's gonna take me a little bit longer to get through them. The Good Girl, again, is another shorter story. I think it's by the same author that wrote The Babysitter. I think it's just a pen name, and I'm pretty sure it's essentially another short novella. So not necessarily anticipating good things with that one as far as like a really high rating, but I'm sure it'll be a good time. So I will update you again when I have gotten through something and have some thoughts on something. So, okay, so there's kind of been a change of plans. I ended up DNFing rule number 1 or whatever it's called, because I have never, and I still will never, subscribe to the idea that you should try to read a book that is not, doesn't have the potential to be 5-star, and no. So I then decided that I wasn't going to spend money to get The Good Girl if it wasn't going to be like a story that I was going to absolutely love. Couldn't find it on KU, couldn't find it on any of my like library apps, Hoopla, Scribd, anything like that. So I decided to go to my next pick for like the next lowest rated, and it was Well Played by Jen DeLuca. This has like a 6-week wait on the audiobook for my library, and again, couldn't find it anywhere else, and I don't really want to wait for that book. I'm already waiting for The Taking of Jake Livingston. So then the next up on my lowly rated is Once Upon a Dream by Sierra Simone. This is a short story collection, and it's by a couple of different authors, and they're each pretty short. So like I just finished the one by Sierra, it's called A Little Witch. It was 66 pages, and I did end up giving it 3 stars. It is a short story about a woman who is the vice president. I believe it's connected to another book of hers, because the way that like the characters were talked about and the world was talked about, it makes it seem like we're supposed to be aware of some other connection somewhere to the characters. But she is going to a masquerade party. She is the VP, and she sees her ex-husband there. She's like got set up by a friend to meet a partner there, and then she sees her ex-husband, and they have like an encounter, and then they decide to get back together. Basically, they split up because she is a dom but wants to be a sub for him, but she doesn't want to switch because of gender norms and etc, etc, etc. So that kind of ended their marriage on top of some other things, and this is them like rediscovering their relationship. It was 3 stars. I like Sierra Simone's writing. Her writing has this very like ethereal feeling to it. I have read the Thornchapel, and it had very similar feelings of just like otherworldliness. And this is like a fairy tale collection, so it makes sense, but she just has that feeling overall, I feel like. So I'm now going to start the next book in the collection, which is called Stolen Hearts. This is by M. O'Keefe, who I've never read anything from. Not very long, it's about the same amount of pages, and then we have one more, Red and White. So I'm gonna get into this one. It's called Music Box Girl, and we'll see how it is. I don't know if it's all in the same world. I don't know if it's connected to other things, but we'll come back when I have figured it out. Okay, so Music Box Girl, the second story, is a retelling of the 12 Dancing Princesses, I think it's what it's called. This guy gets hired by the heroine's dad to investigate where they're going at night, because they come back to the dance school with their slippers ruined, their ballet slippers, and he follows them to a kink club. He gets with the daughter. 2 out of 5 stars. It was not that great. So I finished the last story for the collection. Average. It was like a Snow White and the Huntsman, and there was another woman, so it's like a threesome, and it was okay, I guess. So overall the collection would get a 3. If you're just looking for some like erotica, check it out, but if you want anything other than that, not for you. I understand again why it's slowly rated, especially like anthology collections or short story collections or novella collections. Not every story is going to work for everybody, and in particular these were just very average for me. So I'm now going to finish The Taking of Jake Livingston. And I'll update you a little bit more with this one because it is a little bit longer. So I'll talk to you again when I'm like 25% of the way through and hopefully I have some thoughts. Okay friends, we are at the end of the road for this video because I have unfortunately decided to DNF The Taking of Jake Livingston. I really wanted to give this book a try. Like I said, I checked it out for my library, but my library hold, like the audiobook hold was too long. So I decided to get the physical book from my library, and this writing is just way too disjointed. It doesn't make much sense and it's hard to feel connected to anything. It's hard to feel connected to the setting or any of the characters. The writing is almost an attempt to make the reader and the reader feel as confused as the main character, and it just doesn't work out in a good way. Like, it doesn't achieve that in a good way. So essentially this is about a kid who can see dead people, and one day one of his neighbors ends up getting killed. He's haunted by the killer, and you are alternating points of view between him and the diary of the individual that did the killing. And it didn't have any of the like fun YA horror vibes that I was looking for. I think it had the markings of it, and I wanted this story to work, but it just didn't. The writing just really ruined it for me. So those are all of the lowly rated books on my TBR that I'm going to read. It wasn't the most successful video in that I didn't have the best time, but I did manage to knock some things off my TBR and try some authors that I hadn't tried previously that I hadn't been meaning to get to anyways. So let me know down in the comments your thoughts on anything that I read in the video. I would love to know. If you don't have anything to say, leave a book stack or something down in the comments. If you are looking for more content from me, you can check out my Instagram and my podcast Instagram. You can also check out my podcast on all your streaming platforms. It is a horror podcast. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in my next one.